Namaskar, welcome back. The Samjhauta blast, Hyderabad Makkah Masjid blast, and now finally Malegaon blast. All those people who were implicated in this so-called cases of Hindu terror / saffron terror have been let off because nothing could be proved in the law courts against them. On media scan this evening, who were the masterminds who wanted to make these terror incidents labeled as Hindu terror? What was the purpose of calling them Hindu terror? And what happens now that the people have been let off? Will the real masterminds ever be known to the country and pay for what they did?
ये बात साबित हुआ कि भगवा आतंकवाद नाम की कोई चीज नहीं है और भगवा आतंकवाद के नाम पर उस समय की कांग्रेस सरकार ने 2009 के लोकसभा चुनाव में जाने के पहले लोगों को झूठे केस में फंसाया था। ये गाड़ी साध्वी की थी, प्रोसिक्यूशन नहीं प्रूव पाया। ये गाड़ी साध्वी की पोजीशन में नहीं प्रूव पाया। आरडीएस कर्नल पुरोहित कश्मीर चलाए नहीं प्रूव पाया। वो उनके सुधाकर दत्त चतुर्वेदी के घर में बम बनाया नहीं प्रूव पाया। और साहब एटीएस का अधिकारी बगाड़े करके है, उसने कोर्ट में गवाही दिया है कि उसमें लोगो प्लांट किया गया उसके घर में।
इस राष्ट्र ने मुझे सेवा करने का मौका इसके पहले दिया, बेल पर आने के बाद भी दिया और परमात्मा की मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं कि इसके बाद भी वो मुझे मौका दे रहा है। एक निर्दोष निकलने के बाद मैं चाहता हूं कि भगवान और मातृभूमि हर एक को ये मौका दे और देते रहते हैं। कमी हम में होती है कि हम उसका फायदा नहीं उठाते। ठीक है, तो देश का काम करो भाइयों। ठीक है, और कुछ नहीं है, देश के सिवा और कुछ नहीं है। ये अपना देश है, हमने काम करना चाहिए।
The verdict is out now and I'm really relieved with this verdict. I feel by now it is the responsibility of the masses and the media to come out and bring this reality in front of the masses, and it is the responsibility of everyone to bring the architects of this fake narrative, this fake case, and make these architects face the consequences of what they have done.
So, with those profound bites from Lieutenant Colonel Prasad Purohit, a decorated serving army officer who was implicated and made the face of Hindu terror not only in India but worldwide, I now switch to our guest for this very interesting debate. I have here with me in the DD studios RVS Mani, former senior officer of the Ministry of Home Affairs and most importantly known countrywide for his revolutionary book, The Myth of Hindu Terror. Namaskar, Mr. Mani.
Namaskar.
So good to have you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Also with us, joining me straight from Mumbai, Viral Babar. He has been counsel for Colonel Purohit for a long time now, especially after the demise of the earlier counsel, Mr. Shivre, because the case just went on for 17 long years. Viral, I'll come to you first.
Yes, ma'am.
We know that, if we put down, if I make a long story short, there were two major issues on which there was an effort to implicate Colonel Purohit. One was the fact that he had an association with the Abhinav Bharat organization, which was trying to create violence, perpetrate violent incidents and blasts across the country. And that organization might have been used as a conduit for funding these terror attacks. The second was that Colonel Purohit, being an army officer, had been able to procure the explosives which were used in the Malegaon blast while being tied to that motorbike, which is supposed to have belonged to Sadhvi Pragya, which has now been proved to be false. In the light of the judgment, how do you look at these efforts these implications which were made on Colonel Purohit, and why did they fall flat?
First and the foremost, I'll deal with the issue wherein it was alleged that Colonel Prasad Purohit had procured RDX from Kashmir, and a certain amount was also mentioned by the investigating officer. So, when the evidence was being recorded, we particularly put up the questions regarding the procurement of RDX because that was the only narrative which was there in the charge sheet, but there was zero evidence or any other witness mentioning that fact that such RTX was procured. So questions were put before the IO wherein he was asked that did you take any instructions or did you inquire with Indian military that whether any RTX is missing from them or anything has gone. He clearly stated that no, he never conducted any inquiry. So therefore, I would clearly say that that statement was particularly just to implicate an innocent serving army officer. There was no evidence. Just to arrest him, this kind of evidence was built up and it was put forth.
So, on this particular point, before I move on to the Abhinav Bharat Association, if
Yes.
there is no proof now, we know for sure now that there is no connection in the procurement of the explosives. Now, there is even a question whether it was actually RDX, but leaving that aside for a moment, if this was not procured by Colonel Purohit, we know that a blast did take place in Malegaon on that day. Where do you think the explosive come from?
First and the foremost, the thing that regarding any explosions or any material which was there, the FSL reports there itself as in has not been conclusive, as the court has held that the entire scene of offense, the blast place was contaminated because post the blast there were riots which took place and the police machinery were completely silent about that. They didn't mention any fact about the riots which took place. A heavy mob of more than 1,000 people was present at the spot. There was a rioting which took place. They had attacked a DCP at that time. They had attacked several other police officers who had taken steps to stop this mob at the said scene of offense. So therefore, the court had clearly come to the conclusion that the entire scene of offense was contaminated. Therefore, the reports on basis of the contaminated collected evidence cannot be considered and a conclusive thing can be stated about it. So therefore,
Fine.
the aspect
One
of
line,
explosions.
Viral, one line. What about that report of the FSL which the ATS Kalina had given, which said that the explosive used in Malegaon was the same one which was found in the quarter of Sudhakar Chaturvedi in the army cantonment area?
Regarding that in the judgment, now the court has given direction to conduct inquiry. Particularly, there was an officer who was seen by other star witnesses in this matter who had seen the particular officers to be planting the residue of the RDX in the accused number 11's house, and on basis of their evidence which was strongly proven to be the case, the court
You
has
mean the
directed
report
them to,
given by Khanzode? Are you
I would
referring
never
to that?
take any name, but yes,
Okay.
there were two military officers who saw them, who saw that particular person, and basis of their evidence, yes, the court had considered that a probe should be definitely done against this said fact.
Fine. I know you have to go, Viral, but please stay on with us for a few more minutes. I want to come to Mr. Mani here. Sir, in the Samjhauta Express blast, we have Arif Kasmani on record, even Safdar Nagori, who admitted that they were behind the blast. They arranged the logistics. They were being guided by people across the border from Pakistan, and yet it was labeled as Hindu terror, leading to the fact that those two were let off. They went back to Pakistan, and it continued being labeled as Hindu terror for a long time before Swami Asimanand and all the others were exonerated. Same story repeats itself in the Makkah Masjid blast in Hyderabad. And finally, after 17 long years, we find that Malegaon blast, which ironically was billed as the first case of Hindu terror, here also everybody has been let off. What does it tell us about what was going on in the UPA regime? Why were these cases billed as Hindu terror? And what happens to the people who actually perpetrated the blast?
Thank you, Smita. Thank you. I would like to start with this. See, basically May 2004, the UPA government was formed with all sorts of combinations and permutations. 15th May or 17th May or whatever day. 14th June, they start off the Hindu terror first narrative. Ishrat Jahan case happened. Let us be very clear, they had come to assassinate the then Chief Minister and the then Home Minister of the, who are by the chance the Prime Minister and the Home Minister of the government of, in the Union of India.
You mean Narendra Modi and Amit Shah?
Prominent political leaders, I have said, because I was, they told me don't take any names. So it was written that prominent political leaders of Gujarat. And there was a crossfire outside the outskirts of Ahmedabad. It is all history, it is all well recorded. So they had started with the Hindu terror narrative there itself. Later on, they recalibrated it. They said if we target only VIPs, it has had its own perils.
Okay, interesting.
So that is the reason in the Samjhauta blast, they targeted middle level right wing Hindu leaders like Asima Nanji and all. Again, they were all acquitted. It's a matter of history. Makkah Masjid also same thing. In Samjhauta class, it was Arif Kasmani, a crime syndicate, and Sarwat Nagaji, the head of Simi. At the time, they were breast beating that we have done it because whatever the compensation and investments that had to be reimbursed, they refused, saying that Government of India is claiming there is a Hindu terror. How are you? We are all lying. That is the conversation with the ISI, the handlers. In Makkah Masjid, Sharifuddin and Muhammad Bilal, one of them had purchased a SIM from Faridabad, fake documents, everything. Sharifuddin was a Bangladeshi, Muhammad Bilal was, his credential, his citizenship is not very known. And they were allowed to get away. The worst part was Samjhauta blast. Within 14 days, the real perpetrators caught by SP Railway Crime, Bharati Arora ji, Abhi, now she has left the service. They are let off. That means what were they doing? I have already said that in many places the 26/11 was a fixed match between INC and ISI. But it's a larger paradigm is, were the Pakistanis being let off and are allowed to do terrorist attacks in India, to arrest Hindus and put them in jail, where the UPA Sarkar, the Congress, was an answer for this. Now even today also everywhere Chidambaram has said, sometimes he says Afzal Guru has not been properly tried and he has been hanged by their own government. So everywhere there is a narration they try to create. Now for example RDX, any security expert will tell you that RDX need not be procured from Kashmir.
Exactly.
It lands into the Indian territory through coastal route, Bombay, Ratnagiri, or even northern part of western part of Gujarat and all that. So even basic logics, they were finding it wrong. Of course,
you mentioned 26/11, sir. Do you think all these series of blasts being labelled as Hindu terror was actually, being made into a build-up so that the Mumbai blast could be labelled as a case of the biggest case of Hindu terror? Because we know that a narrative had been peddled, books had been written, trying to pin the blame for Mumbai on the RSS, and these would have served as a kind of a ladder to reach that place where Hindus would be blamed, the majority community would be blamed for perpetrating the biggest terror attack on Indian soil.
I will tell you the basic way. If you see the facts and dates, timeline of the Malegaon 2, that is 2008 Malegaon blast.
Yes.
First responder is the IG police, Nasik. Thereafter it was transferred to ATS in a breakneck speed. The procedure for transferring into ATS, it's an office job, desk job. There was a 22nd October holiday, then there were Dashera holidays, and suddenly I don't know who, I felt there was a blueprint already there to create, because original Mr. P.K. Jain, the then IG of Nasik and later retired as he has already said it was Ahle Hadith. We had reports that it is Ahle Hadith. That was all brush aside, Ahle Hadith or Ahle Hadith, whatever it is. They were all brush aside to peddle this, and it all looked like a they had a blueprint already ready. On this date, ATS, within 4 days or 5 days, ATS was handed over. It doesn't happen like that. First,
Yes.
the IG has to satisfy, or the SP has to satisfy himself. It is not a normal crime, it is a terror case. Only after that he takes it up and it goes up to DGP. DGP then orders the ATS to take over. It is
So,
not that
yes.
I just
So-
go on a morning walk and say let ATS take over. That
So
doesn't
meaning
happen.
to say that there were some powers who did not want the IG police to conduct the investigation as is the process, and it was handed over to ATS. That brings me to the next question on the table, sir, about what was going on in the then ATS Mumbai and ATS Maharashtra, including the Nasik unit of ATS. And let me play a very interesting bite here so that we can move on to the next question. This is a bite by a former ATS officer, an inspector rank officer who was the IO in one of the cases. Please listen what he had to say.
आतंकवाद का कोई धर्म नहीं होता, ये अगर न्यायालय पुख्ता तरीके से कह रहा है, तो जो कांग्रेस के लोग या फिर तत्कालीन अधिकारी जो कह रहे थे कि ये भगवा आतंकवाद है, ये हिंदू आतंकवाद है या कुछ भी और कह रहे होंगे, तो उनको बताना चाहिए कि उन्होंने ये क्यों किया, क्योंकि अब तो सारे दोष मुक्त हो गए। और जबकि ये सारे अभियुक्त दोष मुक्त हो गए, तो तत्कालीन सरकार ने और उनके अधिकारियों ने बताना चाहिए कि सच में किसको छुपाने के लिए, किसको बचाने के लिए इन लोगों को उन्होंने झूठे तरीके से इसमें इम्प्लीकेट किया।
मेरे को जो मेरे वरिष्ठ अधिकारी है, मेरे बॉस जो थे परमवीर सिंह थे और उसके ऊपर के अधिकारी थे, उनका आदेश था उनको मोहन भागवत को उठा के लाओ, ऐसा था। और तब उस वक्त भगवा आतंकवाद का कंसेप्ट चल रहा था मीडिया के अंदर, और ये जो झूठे काम करने के लिए मेरे को बोला तो मैंने नहीं किया, उसकी मेरे को सज़ा मिली। झूठा काम नहीं करने से मेरे को अटक किया गया, जेल में डाला गया।
Okay, so that was Mehboob, who is a former ATS officer, and you have heard him on record saying that he was asked to implicate the top leadership of the RSS, and since he had no evidence to pick up those leaders, he was tortured, he had to go through professional harassment, and it is on record because he has even put it in the law court, though he was not summoned as a witness. Let us get a take from Viral on this. What do you have to say, Viral, to this? And going by these statements of Mr. Mehboob, do you think there may be other officers in the ATS, in Mumbai Police, otherwise, who may have had similar experiences? They were asked to move in a certain direction. Those who did not comply with it had to face a kind of, if I may say, punishment professionally and personally.
On this, I would say that, see, whatever Mr. Mehboob, he had stated that that is not the evidence before the court. So legally, I would never venture into something which was not before the court. I'll only restrict myself to what has transpired before the court in this particular matter, wherein certain officers. So I would just say that.
Okay, so let me come to the next point. I want to know, apart from the planting of the RDX, which we now know has been busted, the other point against Colonel Purohit was his association with Abhinav Bharat, that an organization was floated by him. He used it as a platform to radicalize people and to procure funding, to conduct violent incidents. Now we know that it has been proved to be false. What about those phone calls where meetings were said to have taken place and all this was planned? Is it not a fact that Colonel Purohit was constantly in touch with his seniors, the senior army top brass, while he was conducting any kind of interaction with social organizations, and it had nothing to do with the Malegaon blast?
In fact, there is no evidence that Abhinav Bharat, the association, had collected any funds. If you read the judgment, the Honorable Court had particularly stated that there is no corroboration of the facts, wherein it was alleged that a particular amount was accumulated for the purpose of conducting these terror activities. There is zero evidence, no corroboration, or nothing comes close to that amount also. And on top of that, regarding the organization itself, Abhinav Bharat has entirely failed, as in they couldn't even establish that there is an existence of this kind of any organization, and who conducted this terror act. The prosecution miserably failed to prove that there is any organization, and further this organization collected funds to conduct terror activities. They had miserably failed. The court has substantially had concluded on that aspect that there is no corroboration to any of it. And
Fine.
on top of that, as the UAPA doesn't stand off, all these things cannot be considered at all, as they had completely failed to take a legal sanction from the secretary.
Fine, fine. Just stay with us for a couple of more minutes. I will come back to Mr. Mani here, and I have a very quick query left for you, Viral. Mr. Mani, you heard Mehboob saying this. I am sure you are in the course of your research into this subject and your profile, you know that there are more such employees and officers who may have had similar experiences. Perhaps they did not come out in public, but do you think from what Mr. Mehboob has said, all this implication of middle level persons, whether it is a Sadhvi working for the youth or a serving army officer, was actually a build up to implicate the top leadership of the RSS and other Hindu organizations? And what could have been the end purpose of doing this?
See, end purpose, I will answer it first.
Okay.
Colonel Purohit is put behind the bars. Immediately, Indian Mujahideen takes shape in Batkal. I think you can join the dots, because he has been fighting against so many things. Immediately, prior to that, in 2007 August, two brothers, one was killed in the Glasgow blast. He was trying to do it. Another Australian who was a doctor in Australia was sent back. They were from that area only, Mangalore and that area. And thereafter, a lot of surveillance had come out. And immediately, one fine morning, we say there is a Hindu terror narrative. Hindu terror had been piloted from 1st June 2006, when Digvijay Singh was throwing orders at me in the Home Minister's office, along with Hemant Karkare. At that time, I did not know he was Hemant Karkare. Later on, when he became a martyr, I knew it. I knew he was a police officer. They kept on telling, I said, Home Secretary and other senior officers are coming in 2 hours' time. I have recorded it in my book with full facts, and they have not rebutted it.
Yes.
Whereas Digvijay Singh continued, there will be Hindu terror. Mind the data, mind. So I smelled something that they are already after this. But since there was nothing more happening.
So you are saying it was all scripted, and the scripting was done here in the New Delhi, in the national capital?
Yes, exactly. A blueprint was prepared. A proper blueprint with the timelines. And see, otherwise, in 2006 Bombay serial train blast, they took 7 months to arrest the perpetrator. In 2008 Malegaon blast, they took 7 days. That is the very difference. And a serving officer, to arrest him also, you require certain prior sanctions. And if the prior sanction has been procedurally obtained after each officer applying their mind, it will take around 20 to 22 days after collection of the evidence.
Yes.
And here he says on 4th or 5th, the ATS is given the mandate, and within 1 month, all of them get arrested. Sadhvi gets arrested. So it is clearly a blueprint was already there. They were working actually, as per their own plan. Unholy plan, but it is a plan. And that is what is the conspiracy.
They may not have gone as far as the RSS chief, because I believe that was too much to establish. But they did try to harass certain people. Ashok Berry, Indresh Kumar, and senior functionaries of RSS were called. They were interrogated for a while. Nothing could be proved, and then suddenly it went cold.
Indeed, because if you read my book, 1st June 2006, there was also there was a terror attempt on RSS headquarters in Nagpur. And thereafter, this meeting took place.
Yes.
And that is how the sequence comes. And repeatedly, even in 2004 Ishra Jan case, where I was interrogated in 2013 by a special SIT formed by the High Court of Gujarat, repeatedly I was told, please name Safed Dadi and Kali Dadi. Please name, they offered vulgar amount of money, promotions, all that. I said, this is truth.
Yes, sir. And I think there are few, but certainly there are always some courageous people like you who will stand up to these kind of machinations. But I am afraid we have very little time left on the show. I want to come back to Viral quickly and ask him, Viral, everybody knows there was a blast, first in 2006, then 2008. Now that the people who were implicated in the blast, falsely implicated, have all been let off by the Honorable Law Court, what happens to the people who actually perpetrated that blast? You, as a law-knowing person, do you think a fresh investigation is required? And will it even be possible to get justice in the matter, whether it involves the ATS or police or any other anti-national forces? After 17 years, what do you think can be done in this matter to ensure justice in the case?
I feel so the state and center are right now in a sufficient enough to take legal steps, and I am very sure that they'll proceed legally and takes a step into this matter, come to a fine decision wherein and how they can give justice to the people, those who have died in this blast and all the injured persons. So the state and central agency, I have trust and faith in them now that
Yes.
finally they would do justice with the people, those who have suffered.
Fine. Viral, congratulations for the great success.
you.
And the people who have suffered, we can only say that this must not happen to anybody else again, ever in this country. But I'm afraid we've completely run out of time. Mr. Mani, hope we can get together in another episode for a lot of other issues that were left in this very serious matter. For now, Viral Babar from Mumbai and RVS Mani here in our studios in DD. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing
Thank
all
you.
those valuable details with us and your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
So viewers, as we said in the beginning, people have been let off because they were falsely implicated. But who will bring back those 17 years of a serving officer's life? What about his family? What about the life of a saffron-clad young woman who was trying to work for the society? And those half a dozen other people who never thought of harming their country and yet were labeled as terrorists in the eyes of the society, in the eyes of the country. Will the real masterminds ever come out in the open? With that, it's a wrap up on Media Scan for this weekend. Do join us next weekend with another episode, a topic of national importance. Till then, namaskar.